Hey, fellow truthers, friends, and race fans everywhere. Welcome to another installment of Danica Patrick Fan Fail. And this week's race was the Pure Michigan 400 at Michigan International Speedway, where Danica started P14 and after causing a 6-car accident at lap 25, finished P18. There is a lot more stuff to go over this week, so I'm going to jump right to it. I'm going to start this week with some interesting stuff I found on the Danica Patrick, her personal Facebook page. First thing I'm going to talk about is this little gem here. Several people had things to say about this. That they all basically were saying the same thing, how it was Jeff Burton's fault and blah, 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 blah. So I just wanted to go over this a little bit and show why this was more her fault than some people are making it out to be. And I'll show you that right now. Okay, this is the incident we're talking about right here. And we could go back and forth all day long on whose fault this was or who was more at fault or, the replays look like it could go either way in my opinion. Between the on-track video and Danica's in-car, it kind of looked like, maybe Burton came down a little bit, but it kind of looked like Danica went up a little bit too. And on her in-car, she was seesawing the wheel long before this happened, so she was already loose. And of course she was in the middle. Why she got herself in the middle like that on a restart, but that's another. But the thing is, after they touched, she lost it. Okay, now it's easy to say, well, that could happen to anybody, and it's true, it could. But the thing is, in this particular race, it happened 2 more times later on in the race. Once between Joey Logano and Kurt Busch, and once between Jimmy Johnson and Ryan Newman. And they got together in the same manners, as you can see here. And the difference is neither one of them spun afterwards. Jimmy Johnson got really sideways, and look at this, how sideways he is, and he still didn't spin. And these were just as hard of hits as Danica had. So, these two drivers didn't spin, so, that's what she did. So that's what I'm going to say about that. Okay, so on to the next subject, and this is still from Danica Patrick's Facebook page. We just got a plethora, like 15, 16 of these comments, all saying basically the same thing, that she did such a great job rallying back from her crash. What a great comeback. Way to rally back. Nice recovery. Blah, 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 blah. And they're just ogling over her and telling her what a great job. They think she's going to actually read it. But they just keep coming here. They're delusional. Just delusional. And I got one more here, and then we're going to talk about this. Okay? So let's go ahead and let's just break this down. So Danica starts P14. Okay? At lap 20, she's already back to 17, and at lap 20 they have a competition caution. When they come back from that competition caution, she's 15th. Okay? So then this happens, which she causes. Okay? They get restarted at lap 32, and she restarts 34th. Okay? 10 laps later, she's up to 31 by passing the underfunded teams. She passes 3 cars. By lap 58, she's up to 26th again. People start pitting, and then the leaders start pitting here. She sees 21st, And now she's up to 10th from people pitting. That's the only way she got up to 10th is because she hasn't pitted yet. Okay, you can see the leaders here, Logano and Gordon, they're back to 19th and 20th because they've already pitted. Now, other people are starting to pit. Gordon and Logano are up to 6th. And now pit stops have cycled through, and Danica's back to 27th after she pits and after everybody else has pitted. So lap 82, she gains a spot up to 21 because Burton and Edwards have issues. 96, she's up to 20th. 130, 20th. On lap 152, she's back to 24th, 2 laps down. Okay. And then this happens in front of her. So that puts her from 21st. You can see Vickers right there in front of her. Puts her from 21st to 20th. Okay, she didn't pass anybody. And then this happens to Kurt Busch, who was in front of her. So that moves her from 20th to 19th. Okay, still she hasn't passed anybody. These are gifts. And then with it 13 laps to go, she moves up to 18th, or she's gifted 18th, and that's where she ends the race. Okay, so she didn't race her way to 18th. She didn't make a comeback. She didn't rally. They were mostly gimmies. And she did nothing to put herself in that position. They were all just gifts. So this comeback crap is just that. It's a bunch of crap. Okay, these next ones I'm including just because they're so damn funny. People are talking about how she did a great job saving it. Great job saving to get in that wreck. If she saved it in the wreck, she wouldn't have wrecked. Way to battle back. Great job controlling it in that wreck. Great job, almost caught in the big one. She caused the big one. She was in it. Great save today. She either saved it or she was in it and came back from it. You can't have it both ways, people. Oh my God. You people are hilarious. And then there's these geniuses who are talking about great free pass, bragging about her getting back on the lead lap, all this bullcrap. Okay, she didn't race her way back onto the lead lap. It's called a free pass because it's given to her. She didn't earn it. Nobody ever... Free passes are stupid for every driver, but you people brag about it. Next up are these geniuses. You'd think if you were the fan of a driver, wouldn't you at least be able to spell their name correctly? I mean, come on, people. Are you guys from Russia, or are you just that silly? Come on, people. It's Danica with a C, not a K. Crying out loud. Okay, next I want to talk about William here. He's got quite a bit to say, so I'm just going to go through this and address each issue one by one here. As I said before, you people who say negative stuff, you go out there and try to race. Okay, William, first of all, we don't have 16 years of professional racing experience like Danica does. She's been racing long before she came to NASCAR. She's been racing a lot longer than 4 years. She's been racing since she was like, 6 or something in go-karts. She's been racing professionally for 16 years. It's not like she doesn't have experience. Okay? But even if I did go out and race, I would probably not put up much worse numbers than what she has so far. Okay? And I've mentioned this before. I've got a chart and everything. One of these days maybe I'll put it up for you. An accomplishment after getting loose on lap 26, she could very well have gotten hurt from people behind her on the driver's side. You people don't think about that. Actually, we do think about it. We think about it a lot. Okay? First of all, she's the one that got loose. She's the one that put herself in that position. Second of all, her car was spinning at not much slower speed than what she was running at going straight, because she hadn't slowed down much by the time she got hit. So the car that hit her, it wasn't like he was doing 100 miles an hour faster than her. He was doing maybe 10 or 15 miles an hour faster than her. Those cars have roll cages in them. They've got reinforced side cages that are stronger than they've ever been. She got hit more between the tire and the front of the door than she did in the driver's door. So the impact wasn't actually on her door, it was more on the tire, or right behind the tire. She wasn't in as much danger as you make it out to be. People have rolled and flipped and hit the wall solid and head on and haven't gotten hurt. That was basically a fender bender in race car terms. Where we at? Her recover from a wreck and move up and have better speed than most drivers. She was the only time she had those kind of speeds when other people had that 191 speed, maybe right after she made a pit stop and they'd been out on those tires for a while. Her car wasn't that much faster than everybody else's, and if it was, then she should have won the frickin' race. I don't know. You people need to think before you make these statements, I swear to God. She might have been back after lap 26 near 30th place, but to have that mindset after what happened is amazing, inspiring. What mindset? That she caused herself to be in a wreck, and she was able to, first of all, she didn't race her way back up to where she finished. Most of those spots, as I've already told you earlier in this little thing here, she didn't race her way up. She was gifted those spots. She didn't work for them. She didn't earn them. Okay? It didn't take any mindset. You couldn't do that quickly to get back up to 19th. Well, maybe you couldn't. And at one point she was running in the top 10 for a while. Great job. She was running in the top 10 because she hadn't pitted yet when everybody else had pitted. That's the only reason she was running in the top 10. This is why she's not good for NASCAR, because she brings in fans like you that don't know a damn thing about the actual sport of racing. You make stuff up. You don't understand what's going on out there on the track. You don't understand pit cycles. You don't understand anything except that Danica's pretty and she's a woman. You people like you are the reason that Danica is bad for this sport. That's in a nutshell right there. The difference being here, John, is that for the other drivers, it's an exception. It happens to them once in a while. For Danica, it's the rule of thumb. It's the exception for her not to make a mistake. That's the difference. Next, we have Mark here, who wants to compare Danica to a couple other drivers. So let's oblige him, shall we? Okay, let's go to racingreference.com. This is where I get most of my stats here in jc.com. And we'll look at Dale Jr.'s NASCAR Sprint Cup stats. And as you can see, in his first full season, he had 2 wins. He had 3 top 10 or top 5s and 5 top 10s. In his second full season, he had 3 wins, 9 top 5s, and 15 top 10s. Okay, the other one he wanted to compare with was AJ Allmendinger. So let's go check AJ's stats. And again, these are his Sprint Cup stats. And in his first full season, he didn't have any wins, but he had a top 5 and he had 6 top 10s. In his second full season, he still didn't have any wins, but he did have 2 top 5s and 8 top 10s. So let's go have a peek at Danica's stats. And again, these are Sprint Cup stats. And her first full season, 0 wins, 0 top 5s, 1 top 10. In her second full season, 0 wins, 0 top 5s, and only 2 wins. That's why you don't want to compare other drivers to Danica. She will always let you down. Next we have Gary, who says, if you don't like Danica, we all get it, but the people aren't on there fan wagoning. We are in it for the long haul, even if she doesn't win. Really? So people like this guy who says, I watch NASCAR only because of Danica. That's the kind of fan you have. He's not a bandwagoner. Or this guy who thinks Shauna Robinson started it for women and in the 90s. Or how about this guy? He doesn't even know what the chase is. And then we have this next guy who thinks that open wheel cars don't even have a draft, doesn't even know what the draft is. Or how about any of these four that can't even spell her name right? Are those the kind of people you're talking about? The fans she has? I know. Okay, so now we have Eugene and Susan who bring up another common excuse that her fans always give, and that's the crew chief. So let's go back to racingreference.info and let's look at Tony Gibson, who, even for some of you Danica fans that don't even know his name, that's Tony Gibson is her crew chief. So here we have his numbers. For the 4 years before he started with Danica, he was Ryan Newman's crew chief. Okay, so let's look at some numbers that Tony had before taking over for Danica. This is his wins. This is the win column. And then next over here, these are the top fives he had with Ryan. And then next we have, these are all the top tens he had with Ryan over the course of 4 years. There's probably about 45, 50 there. These are the poles. He had 6 poles with Ryan. All but 1 year, he had a pole every year. These are the positions Ryan finished in each of those years. Top 20 every year, all 4 years. And then these are his average starts, all top 20s, all top 15s. These are his average finishes, pretty much all top 15s. And then we go to look where he took over for Danica. Now look what the numbers do. Look at these numbers that Tony now has. Tony, look how bad his numbers are suffering. And it's just the driver change. He didn't just all of a sudden get sucky. He was an excellent crew chief. The only difference? This right here. Danica Patrick. She's the common denominator. Now we come back to this guy. Shauna Robinson in the 90s started it for women to race at the top level. Danica's there now. Shauna Robinson, for one, didn't come to NASCAR until 2001. And she was not the first woman to come into race in the top series. If you knew fans would learn and research NASCAR instead of just worrying about how pretty Danica is, you might learn some things. So let's just go ahead and show you the 15 women that have been in NASCAR before Danica ever thought about it. So let's just talk about Janet Guthrie here for a minute. To this day, Janet Guthrie is the most successful female race car driver that has ever driven in the top series of NASCAR. Not Danica, Janet Guthrie. And this right here shows it. Janet Guthrie's 1977 season was the best female performance of any female racer in NASCAR. In only 19 of 30 she only ran 19 of 30 races that year. Danica's run everything this year. So it's 23 races against 19 races, basically. Same number of wins, same number of top fives. But Janet had 4 top 10s that year. Danica only has 2. They got the same number of poles. Danica's led 3 more laps, but Janet, has a 4-position better average start than Danica does. She's got a 7-position better average finish than Danica does. And Janet, to this date, is the female racer that has finished the points in the highest position. That year, 1977, she finished 23rd. Danica, mathematically, she's 28th right now, and mathematically, she can't go any higher than 27th. So, for everybody that says Danica is the best that ever was, you're wrong. Miss Guthrie right there is so far the most successful female race car driver that has ever driven in the top series. So quit bragging up your little Miss Patrick. Okay, I grabbed some more screenshots and some more quotes for this week, but this is already running a little long, so we're just gonna go over this week's stats for Michigan and call it a day maybe. I'm sure those quotes will come back around eventually, so or maybe I'll throw them in one of these other weeks. So for Michigan, her current points position is 28th, which is still last year at this time she was 27th, so that's still red. She started 14th and finished 18th. She was 2 laps down, but she got a lucky dog and nobody seen a wave around, but somehow she got another lap back somehow. Everybody I've talked to, nobody knows how she got both laps back, but she did somehow. She had a positive green flag pass ratio again this week, and again, nobody I've talked to that watched the race knows how that happened, because most of her positions were through pit stops and other instances. She just didn't seem like she passed that many people, but that's the official number, so that's what we have to take. So that betters her year-to-date up to negative 178. However, that's still the worst of the top 35 drivers in points. She's still last in that category. Her driver rating went up this week. Again, I don't know why. Probably because of, the crash and starting 34th and then quote unquote working her way back up to 18th. I don't know what they used to figure that out, but that's the way it is. She did get 1 lucky dog this week. That brings her total up to 9. She had 3 PTAs this week. Kyle Larson had the incident on pit road with Dale Jr. The 41 crashed towards the end of the race, and the 55 spun, which put him behind her. He was ahead of her at the time. So that brings her year-to-date PTAs up to 103. And I put down a wave around because that's the only thing I can figure out that she got her other lap back. Nobody I talked to seen it. But that's the only thing we can figure out, so I gave her a wave around. So that's fan fail for this week. We'll hopefully keep this going, and we'll be back again next week after Bristol. See ya.